This is a new series that I'll probably only do once or twice a year, but I thought it would be fun to look at my current Etsy favorites. Obviously, this isn't sponsored with my current subscriber count, but I've been singing Etsy's praises, and while they're definitely not perfect, Etsy is still by far one of the best ways to connect to small creators. So, Etsy, if you're watching, hi. That being said, everything will be linked below and they will be affiliate links because I'm trying to pay rent. If you're new here, my name is Medora. I use they, them pronouns, and I make videos about home design for girls, gays, and theys. So without further ado, let's head over to Etsy. So we're gonna go to my favorites. And I'm definitely possibly going to blur out some of these collections here because I am allowed to have professional boundaries. I kind of have two different main sections for my home design stuff. One is called Functional Home, which is more like things that are built into the home or things that the primary purpose of it is to function. Whereas my furniture and decor collection is much more like pretty aesthetic things. Obviously there's going to be some overlap between the two, but that's kind of how I've divided that out. I do also have a kitchen section and an art section. So I think I'm actually going to start out with those two first, and then we'll move on to furniture and decor because I feel like that'll be the one that everyone wants to see. And so we will conveniently leave that for the end so that you watch the entire video. I'm trying to be a YouTuber, guys. I don't know. Okay, so kitchen. We've got some beautiful, like, walnut drawer pulls, which are gorgeous. They're not as pricey as I thought they would be. So if you've got a relatively small kitchen, could be good. Like that. That is just so gorgeous. I'm obsessed. Anyways, let's see what else. These are super cute. I love a custom reusable thing. I especially loved this first one where it was embroidered. That's just so cute. This one's sold out, but oh, and you're not even gonna be able to see it well. But a hand-forged stainless steel bench knife. Like, totally unnecessary. You can just buy something like that from Target, but if you have the funds to support a small creator for something like this, that's just so cool, and it'll just feel so much more meaningful every single time you use it. I did find there's this company that does metal covers for IKEA kitchens. It's definitely a bit of an investment, but if you design your entire space around this really well, you can get an incredibly custom look. They've got all sorts of different colors. It's definitely better for a much more modern kitchen. Obviously, you have to have flat fronts on your cabinets. They've got a patinaed brass. They've got a patinaed copper. They've got this like darker, moodier, what do they call it? Oh, there's a whole bunch. They've got so many colors. They've got this like, whatever that is, this turquoisey patina, which would have to go in a very particular space because it's a very bold color. But done well, this could be gorgeous. And I think it would especially make sense if you're renovating a house and you don't really have the budget to go for custom cabinets, but you really want that high-end look and you really want to bring in a new material. This could be absolutely perfect for that. Ooh, these knives. Any sort of pretty knife is just so good. Like, look at that. Oh, I want this knife. It looks so pleasant to hold in your hand and use, and I'm obsessed with that. Oh yeah, look at that, perfectly weighted. Absolutely. Okay. I'm not even really a knife person, but like anything that you hold with your hands and use with any sort of frequency, the more it's like real and tangible and like this hand forged, the better. More knives, some antique copper, you know, anything like that. Okay, that's all that was on my kitchen list. So let's go back to the art. A lot of this art is very specific to my personal taste and my desire to support small creators, especially small creators who are trans and undocumented and all of that. I'll probably have to censor that, but drawings of which the contents I will not specify because ads. This is a fabric patch, which I love. I think it's intended more to like go on a jacket or something, but I would love this framed. This would be beautiful. This intrigues me. Again, I'll probably have to maybe blur some of this out. But anyways, a custom body sculpture, and they give all sorts of different examples of different bodies. Yeah, custom sculptures of real bodies. And then obviously they can only accept photographs if you're above 18. A classic Be Gay Do Crime. Oh, they're taking a break. That's unfortunate. This I'm kind of obsessed with. I don't know what's going on here. There's some like medieval people riding on a fish and it's just weird and hilarious and I love it. Some beautiful hand-painted art, again, of which the contents I will not specify. This raccoon is just adorable and would be so cute on a shelf. I've been really into lithographs recently, and especially this artist, Pierre Alechinsky. There's just something about this that I love. It's very graphic. It almost reminds me of like a poster or a graphic novel or something, but it's so much more painterly than that. It's very, I don't know, it just speaks to me. It's like one of those things that I don't know what's going on, but I unfortunately do not have an extra $1,000 lying around. I will say, I think that Stuff like this. It's cute and I like the message of it. That would have to be placed so intentionally and specifically in someone's home, and it definitely feels a little overdone, a little like, 20 teens Pinterest era, but I do unfortunately kind of like it. I do really love a simple line drawing on a parchment colored paper. There's just something about it that feels so raw and real. And again, this probably goes back to the point in my last video where things that are parchment colored or handmade, they feel so much more tangible and tactile and human. This one is another lithograph, and aside from the frame, I don't love the frame itself, but I do love how it's framed. I love that you can see the paper around the art itself, and I love that you can see like the artist's signature, and this is, I assume, probably the print number or something down here in this corner. But yeah, I love how this is matted with the red mat to create a little red line around there, and then an extra white mat. This one, again, I'm not gonna say any words that might cause YouTube to like flag my videos or anything, but this. Again, another Pierre Alachinsky. Something about the colors, and it's just so evocative. And maybe this is just me being an art nerd, but like, I love it. And I would love to own one of this person's prints one day. For a different art style, we've got some cubism. It apparently says it's Picasso, but like, a Picasso isn't going to sell for $700. Like, so I assume it's just a recreation of one of Picasso's works, because yeah, that's not a real thing. I've got some sculptures here, which I mentioned in a video somewhat recently, that I love sculptures, especially if it's like actual unique art and not just like some little mass-produced thingy that you buy at Target to put on your shelf. Another sculpture, and this one is fun because it's a kit that you can like arrange however you want. So that is a really fun concept. Anything playing around with gender, especially like historical photographs, I am obsessed with. It personally really helps me feel connected to the queer ancestors who came before us, and it definitely gives me, some hope and some strength in these uncertain times. Here's another lithograph that I used in the most recent virtual makeover video that I did. So if you liked that, here is that. And I think I'm running out of time to film this, so let's move on to the functional home. I'm obsessed with this lamp. I love that it's a plug-in. I love the dark wood. I love that it's just unique and something that like is not really seen before. It's definitely I have seen it a few times on Pinterest, but it's just so much fun, and I love how it brings in wood, but it also gives off a really nice light. If these pictures will load, you can just like point it any which way, and it's just a pleasant, well-designed light fixture. A lot of these are like, fun little details and stuff that like isn't necessary, but if you have the money, it's details like this that make a world of a difference. Oh, I've been so into these cocoon lights recently. If you've seen Troye Sivan's house tour, which if you're here, I'm assuming you have. But if you've seen his house tour, he has a couple of these lights, and I am just so into them. I love that they're not your standard just like white rice paper lampshade. There's so much more depth and dimension and intrigue. And I love how they come in such neat shapes that are very nature inspired. They're just so beautiful to me. They're obviously very expensive, but these are one of those like dream bucket list kind of items. Some of these lights that I've talked about from Sputnik Lights, gorgeous. I've been really into a very specific vintage IKEA sconce. It's a picture light, it's a plug-in. There's just something about it that feels so good to me, and they'll pop up every once in a while on Etsy. So keep your eye out if this is gone by the time you get to it. But yeah, I just love it. Again, more Sputnik Lights. This would be a fun DIY if you've got a little bit of time and patience for sanding, especially. And I'm thinking there's some random 4x4s that are sitting out by our apartment's dumpster, and they have been for months now, so it's a little too modern for my taste, but I feel like in the right space it could work. I don't know. If you find a good light bulb that isn't too bright, these could be really great for a single light bulb, whether that's in a bathroom or in a closet, something like that. These just provide a really nice, clean, modern option if you don't want to like have a whole entire light fixture, but you like want it to look a little bit nicer than like this. These are great for that. This is a really beautiful light fixture that it feels kind of like a weird cross between something that's kind of farmhouse inspired and also something that is much more mid-century. So I think it definitely fits within our cultural narrative of what good design is at the moment, but I also just think it's an objectively well-designed sconce. It's one of those rare things that is somehow both traditional and modern in a way that feels really good, and I feel like this could fit in just about any space, regardless of your style. So, although I think these sconces are placed way too high up. But aside from that, there are some things that are just objectively so well designed, and some things that are objectively not. So when I find things like this, I always want to make sure to point those out. I've been really into, especially like in a kitchen or somewhere, if you've got like a modern build where you've got all of those little puck lights in the ceiling, this is a really great alternative to that. It still provides the light, but it's just a little bit, not quite as hospital. And I love shops like this where they give you a whole range of colors and it's not just black or gold, right? You've got matte black, antique black, blackened brass, brushed chrome, brushed brass, polished brass, raw brass, which is also called unlacquered brass, so it'll develop a nice patina over time, and antique patina. I'm kind of surprised that they don't have a nickel option because I feel like nickel's pretty popular, but I love that they have a polished chrome. That's perfect. Anyways, yeah, just more lights. I think I've showed most of these lights at some point or another on my channel. This is a really good idea. If you've got a jigsaw and a scrap piece of plywood, you could definitely DIY this pretty easily, but just a quick, simple little laptop stand to raise the screen up and make the typing process a little bit more ergonomic is super functional. And I also like that this is wood rather than metal or especially plastic, because some of those laptop stands that you find on like Amazon or whatever are just not the prettiest, and they might be functional, but this just feels a little bit more grounded to me. I do love an unlacquered brass moment. I think we all know that I'm not the biggest fan of a fake gold, but if it's true unlacquered brass, like this cute little bar sink, like something like that, I'm definitely on board with. And I think part of the reason I love unlacquered brass so much is that it changes with time. It changes with use. It's one of those things that really makes your home feel like a living creature rather than just like a static object in the background. And I think it's helpful to have reminders of that type of mindset, and this is the type of thing that will do that. These are some super cute knobs. I think I saw these originally from Alexander Gator, possibly. I don't remember. They're definitely a bit pricey, so these would maybe go well on like a cabinet that only needs 2 of them or something. And they're also definitely a little bit more chaotic than I would usually go for, specifically for a drawer pull. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of color. There's a lot of pattern. Usually I like my drawer pulls to be a little bit more subdued and simple, but if you're looking for something cute and statement-y, especially if you're in a rental where you can't switch anything else out and you just like want something that sparks a little bit of joy, these are perfect for that. Anything that's like hand forged, I am obsessed with. Like these Ikebana scissors. I don't know about you, but I have a weird thing where I need to have a different set of scissors for everything. I've got my general all-purpose craft scissors, I've got my kitchen shears, I've got my fabric shears, I've got my thread cutting scissors, I've got hair scissors, like I feel like scissors are just one of those things for me where it's worth it to have specific scissors for specific purposes. Maybe that's a little over the top, but that's like one of the things that I go all out on. More light fixtures, some handmade sinks that are really cool. Let's see, like this one. If you're looking for a vessel sink, these are actually very reasonably priced, especially considering they're handmade from a small local business. Like usually any sink you buy will be this price or far more from any box store. So if you're looking for something unique, I would definitely recommend checking out this shop. What is this shop's name? DECOR. Everything will be linked below. Everything will be linked below. So don't worry about that. But yeah, somewhere in the 200-400 range for a new sink that is handmade and unique and from a small business is just so cool. They've got this really neat green one, which is just so much fun if you're looking for a weird pop of color. I think I saved a lot of these. They've got this metallic one, like just so neat, so weird and unexpected, and I'm obsessed with these. They also have more modern ones too if you want like a more angular look. They really have something for everyone at this shop. So if you are renovating a bathroom, definitely go check this place out. Oh, and they also have this, I'm obsessed with this. I also am so obsessed with this. They've got some of these like folk art lacy type of designs, which are just so cute if that's your vibe. I would definitely recommend looking into something from your actual culture. Like, so for me, I would look into Polish pottery because there's a whole tradition of that. And I think that a sink made out of Polish pottery could be really neat. But this is a really cute, much more affordable way to get a similar vibe. Some wood stoves, just because I'm obsessed with wood stoves. I love having an element of fire in the home, because without that, at least for me, a home just feels kind of empty and soulless. For a couple years, I did use a tiny wood stove as my only source of heat throughout these Colorado winters, so I am well acquainted with wood stoves. I do love any sort of like old repurposed type of thing that has a bunch of history behind it, and I was personally raised Catholic, but like without all of the shame that comes with it, so I unfortunately do kind of love a Catholic aesthetic. There's just something about the wood pews and the stained glass and the candles that I find really comforting. Oh, these are sold. Oh, the shop is taking a break. That's unfortunate. If I can, yeah, zoom in here. A bold stripe on a sheet is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I won't be able to link that. These are also sold, but any sort of like chrome vintage sconce thing, I think that's a really fun way to add a pop of chrome, a pop of metal, something like that, because getting a chrome side table or coffee table, or if you're trying to go even bigger, like a dining table or a bed frame or something like that, can get real pricey. So a much more affordable way to introduce some metal into your space is with a little sconce like this. This is the wood stove that I got. If you're looking for a wood stove, if you're in the market for a wood stove, I would recommend going to this shop and getting the bigger one, wherever the bigger one is. So I'll try to link the bigger version of this if I can. It's longer, it'll fit a longer piece of wood, so that way you don't have to cut like 3 inches off of every single piece. Would have been nice to know that before getting this wood stove, but and then there's just some like fun vintage fabrics. Are these actually curtains or are they just fabric? Yeah, no, custom drapes. So you can choose the size you want. So if you like any of these patterns, this one's really cute. This feels very Polish inspired to me, so I think that's why I'm drawn to it. But yeah, just like such a cute little vintage touch. I love this gingham. This is definitely a vibe. Also definitely a lot. These would feel like a lot in a particular space, and they could definitely read very cottagey, farmhousey very quickly. I think if it was a bigger gingham, I might like it a little bit better, but I have been really into a square knob recently. It can definitely be a little bit harder to keep them straight. You gotta like make sure to tighten them really good. But something about squares, whether it's like this type of style intended for a kitchen cabinet or something, I've also really been loving like a bigger wooden square knob. And then I've also been really loving square or rectangular back plates for light fixtures, because I feel like a lot of the modern ones, especially the cheap modern ones, have circular bases, and if it's square or rectangular, it just feels a little bit more like polished and put together, and there's just something about it that really feels nice to me. Okay, and then moving on to the last section, furniture and decor. I have been really obsessed with these cute little scalloped shades, especially ones with the piping around it that's a different color. It's so cute. They've got all sorts of different colors. You can pick which ones you want. Okay, and then you can also pick which type of like lampshade connection you want. So yeah, this definitely linking this below. These are some pretty realistic looking fake magnolia branches. And I feel like if you're going to do fake plants, choosing a plant that has like a bigger, thicker, chunkier leaf will help it feel a little bit more realistic, because with smaller, more delicate leaves, I feel like it's harder to create a passable, believable, realistic looking leaf. But with these are really impressive. And then I found this recently. I'd used this also in that same virtual makeover video in one of the dining rooms. And it's just such a neat take on a paper lampshade. Now, I don't think it comes in anywhere near as big of a size as I put in my mock-up. Yeah, 40 centimeters is the biggest. So it's not super big, but it's like clearly someone's just like hand making these lampshades, and I love that. Shipping is an extra $53 at least to where I am. So that's always a thing to keep in mind. Aha! I linked this in my gift guide video, and it looks like it's sold. So I take it that means that one of you got that. That's exciting. Okay, I've been really into vintage IKEA, as I'm sure we all are. But yeah, just like something that is well designed and built to last. That's kind of my overarching theme here. I love the holes in the seats so that you can actually get some airflow to your butt and not leave a sweaty butt crack mark when you stand up. That's always nice. Again, it's the little things, the little practical details that make such a big difference. Ooh, and in this shop, I did not go through all of the rugs from this shop, and I didn't mention them explicitly, but I also used one of these rugs, I think, as a wall hanging in that virtual makeover video. But I just want to go and like show you all of these because they have some beautiful designs that are just so good. These are works of art. Let's see. There's a lot of themes of like war and peace, and this is the one that I used, I think. And I love how a lot of them look very traditional, especially like this one, but it's only when you look closer that you're like, Oh, there's a message here, and I love that. And I also love some of these more like modern graphic ones that are not quite as traditional. Again, just gorgeous. And like, yeah, again, like you wouldn't notice it if you didn't look very closely. But if you look closely, like all of the tanks that are in here and the airplanes, and it's just, oh, I'm obsessed with this shop and I cannot wait to own one of these because these are stunning. These are just absolute works of art. And they do also have some like regular rugs too that don't have any of that imagery if you want to support them, but you don't necessarily want that in your home for, you know, safety reasons or anything. But yeah, I'm obsessed with the shop. I will link this whole entire shop below. Again, one of these vintage IKEA sconces. I think this one I actually sent to one of my clients. And so I think that's why that's sold. And then, oh, I found these stools recently that I'm sure are absolutely worth it at this price, but I would be very curious to try to make one of these because the construction is actually pretty simple. It looks like, I think, possibly, hopefully, but it's just pine. It's not a fancy wood. And I think it makes so much more sense that it is pine and that it isn't a fancy wood because it's this like Scandinavian, like vintage pine aesthetic. And it's so cute and so simple. And I love how you can see this construction detail with the little dowel that goes into, I don't know all the woodworking terms, but the dowel that goes into to like secure the joint. I love when the practical construction of something is highlighted in a really beautiful way. And I think this is just such a perfect example of that. I'm pretty sure I found these candles directly from Paige Wassel. Again, can't go video without mentioning her, but they're beautiful. If you've got the budget for it, they're so beautiful. These plywood stools, again, vintage IKEA. Any bent plywood I've been very into recently. Let's see, let's keep going. Aha, this shelf that I did a virtual room makeover for a subscriber and they found this shelf for an incredible deal. So that was exciting. There's some fun blankets here. Again, more of these rugs. Oh, I think I used these in this whole entire video is just an ad for my other videos, apparently. But I think I used these chairs in another virtual makeover. I've been really into, oh, this one's sold already, but the company Lane has this whole line of what they call mosaic. They've got dressers, credenzas, armoires, and I love this whole vibe. And I think it would be a relatively easy DIY that I would love to do at some point. Some interesting fun rugs. I think all of these are from the same shop. So let's just go with this one. Indian art carpet. And they make, you know, relatively affordable rugs that are some kind of wool. It just says wool, high quality wool. I'm not seeing anything that says if it's a wool blend or not, but it might just be 100% wool. And if so, like $1,000 for a 9x12 is a really good price for a brand new wool rug. So yeah, definitely go check out everything from this store. They've got a lot of like fun, unique patterns and designs. And I feel like their designs are much more modern, but they're not like bad. Because I feel like you see a lot of, you know, non-traditional rugs that are very bad. And these are definitely in the not bad category. Depending on what you're going for, depending on what your style is, you know, all of that. Again, more vintage IKEA. Here's more of the Lane staccato pieces. I'm so in love with, oh, these ones are sold out, but actually these are more Swedish. But there's a bunch of chairs that came out of Brazil in the 60s that have this same vibe where it's kind of a wooden base, it's big and chunky, it's got this like big oversized leather look, and they're just so beautiful. Here's some more interesting lampshades. This one in particular, it reminds me a lot of the like texture and the depth that you get with one of those cocoon lampshades. But this is a lot more affordable than the like $1,000 to $3,000 that we were seeing, depending on what size you want to get. So it's definitely a little bit more of a rustic vibe, but if you're okay with that, this would provide such a beautiful quality of light that I think it would absolutely be worth it. And then with this one, I really love a lampshade that very specifically is much more like wide and triangular this way than it is like this way. Anything where the dimensions going horizontally are much greater than the dimensions going vertically, big fan. And I think that just about wraps it up. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, head over to medorakia.com and I will see you in the next one. Bye.